She spent 5 yuan on a love letter. Brother, look, the recipient has the same name as you. I stared at this love letter from 8 years ago, lost in thought. It was signed by Qinghuan. Isn't she my aloof desk mate from high school? And my equally aloof boss now? Just as I was about to ask for details, a call came through to the house. The child on the other end was sobbing his heart out. My aunt is going to beat me to death. I'll pay you 100 yuan. Just give me that love letter back. Because of a mistake by an intern, our entire team was reprimanded. As team leader, I was chewed out the worst. By the time I left the boss's office with my head hanging, the intern was practically in tears. Brother Wen, I'm sorry I dragged you into this. I glanced at the dark circles beneath her eyes. Work had been intense these past few days. Our whole team had been working overtime. She hadn't gotten any rest either. I waved it off. It's fine. I'm used to getting yelled at. It doesn't bother me anymore. Is that so? A cool, distant woman's voice rang out. The intern jolted in fright. My body went rigid too. I looked up. Qinghuan was staring at me with a frown. Her beautiful, icy face was intimidating just to look at. I forced the corner of my mouth up. No. Qinghuan stared at me for several seconds. Then she shut the office door. I stepped out for water during work and overheard several interns whispering. The boss is so harsh with Director Wen. Director Wen has nerves of steel. I definitely couldn't take it. I heard Director Wen and the boss were high school classmates. Seriously? Then she really doesn't go easy on her old classmate. She's a demon. I shrugged. You can say that again. Qinghuan really is a demon. She and I weren't ordinary high school classmates. We sat side by side for 3 years, and she never showed me any special consideration either. I was about to leave when their conversation suddenly shifted. Oh, right? I heard the boss is engaged. A while ago, I even saw her fiancé drop her off at the office. I stopped mid-step. My fingers curled unconsciously around the cup. I looked toward the office at the end of the hall. For some reason, my chest felt strangely tight. After a month of hard work, the project finally made major progress. The company gave us 5 days off. The interns were so thrilled they nearly cried. I politely declined their dinner invitation and drove straight back to my hometown. I hadn't been home in 6 months. Luckily, it wasn't far away. It took just over 4 hours to drive there. It was already late at night when I arrived. My sudden return startled my mother. She happily went to make my bed. My father hummed as he went to make me a late-night snack. I put down my luggage and quietly pushed open the door to the small bedroom. A little girl slept with her head buried beneath the covers. Her sleeping face was peaceful and adorable. When Yao was born when I was in high school, the result of one careless moment between my parents. When I suddenly gained such a little sister, I wasn't used to it at first. But as when Yao grew, she became more and more adorable. She inherited our mother's patience and our father's intelligence. She was also extremely attached to me. Whenever she got something nice, I was always the first person she thought of. Early the next morning, I heard a noise and sleepily opened my eyes. When Yao was leaning over the side of my bed, staring at me without blinking. Brother, you're home. Yeah. I closed my eyes again. Be good. Your brother needs a little more sleep. Okay. I'm off to school. I'll bring you a present when I get back. I mumbled a reply. When Ya tiptoed out, she carefully closed the door behind her. That little girl was thoughtful. She must have quite a bit of pocket money. She could even afford to buy me a present. I was looking forward to it. I didn't get up until nearly 11. When Ya had already come home from school, our parents asked me to watch her for a while they went grocery shopping. As soon as our parents left, when Ya came over to me with a mysterious look. Brother, guess what present I brought you? How would I know? I was about to make up an answer, but she couldn't wait. She held an envelope up in front of me. Brother, look, your name is written on it. I froze for a moment. Then I took the letter. The paper had yellowed slightly. It looked quite old. The envelope was addressed to Yichen. When Ya chattered on, our school held a charity sale today. We brought old things from home that we no longer needed. Students could buy whatever they wanted. The money raised would be donated to Hope Elementary School. My deskmate brought lots of things. Old books and stationery. I found this letter inside one of the books and bought it for 5 yuan. When Yao looked eager for praise. Brother, do you like it? My first thought was that it must belong to someone with the same name. I'd never been one of the good-looking guys in class. I wore thick glasses all day and had a quiet, introverted personality. I never knew how to respond when people spoke to me, so no girl had ever given me a love letter. I held the letter, unsure what to do. But when Ya kept urging me, brother, open it. This doesn't seem right. It's someone else's property, and a love letter is private. But I saved my pocket money for a whole week, and finally managed to buy it. Children are impatient. She snatched the letter from me, opened it in seconds, and shoved it back into my hands. Brother, read it to me. My classmate said she got it from her aunt's treasure box. It's filled with good stuff. This must be something good too. I was about to refuse when I caught sight of the signature at the bottom. Qinghuan. A bolt of lightning seemed to rip through my mind. I stood there stunned for several seconds. Only then did I force my eyes upward to the contents of the letter. Yichen. This is our third year as desk mates. I quickly covered the page. My face felt ready to explode from embarrassment. My sister kept urging me. Brother, read it. I want to hear it too. I made up an excuse to send her away. Clutching the envelope, I rushed into my room. I opened the window and stood there in the breeze for a long while, but I still couldn't calm down. I looked at the letter again. I was absolutely certain Qinghuan had written it. My handwriting in high school had looked like chicken scratch. Our language arts teacher couldn't stand it anymore. She gave me Qinghuan's homework to use as handwriting practice for an entire semester. I could recognize her handwriting even if it were burned to ashes. But why? How could Qinghuan have liked me in high school? My thoughts slowly drifted away. I remembered the start of my first year of high school and my first meeting with Qinghuan. Back then, I had come alone from a small town to attend the city's one high school. I was carrying an oversized woven plastic sack filled with all sorts of things. By the time I reached the school gate, it had become too heavy to carry, so I dragged it along instead. But I had overestimated the sack's strength. Under the intense friction against the ground, it tore open. I walked quite a distance before realizing something was wrong with the weight. When I turned around, my belongings were scattered all along the road. Books, stationery, toiletries, a lunchbox. The students around me were all staring. Laughter kept ringing out. Damn, look. A country bumpkin in the city. That sack is freaking badass. My face burning red. I crouched down, retracing my steps as I picked everything up. I hadn't been at it for long when I ran straight into a girl walking toward me. She was carrying a backpack with cool, beautiful features, her hair tied in a ponytail, and she was tall. She was holding a pile of miscellaneous items and said calmly, I picked up everything farther up the road. Do you have another bag? I shook my head awkwardly. I could barely bring myself to look up at her. She thought for a moment, took several books out of her backpack, and handed it to me. Use this for now. Confused, I took the girl's white backpack. I looked up blankly. How am I supposed to return it to you? Qinghuan pointed at the book I had just picked up. Aren't you in class 3? Grade 10 too. I froze. I instinctively looked at her books. A sticker on the cover showed her class and name. Class 3. Grade 10. Qinghuan. As for who fell in love first, it was actually me. Unfortunately, sadly, for various reasons, that unrequited love came to nothing. After graduating from college, I took an internship at an obscure little company. I never expected to run into her again. Only then did I realize that she was the one who had founded the company. The gap between people only seems to grow wider. While I was still worrying about how to support myself, Qinghuan had already started her own business and joined the elite. So, why had this love letter ever been written? I racked my brain, but couldn't figure it out. Then could Qinghuan still? At the thought of it, my heart began beating a little faster. But before I could think it through, I suddenly remembered some gossip I'd heard recently. Qinghuan might already have a fiancé. So, whether this love letter was real or not, it could only belong to the past. Just as I was feeling down, when his furious voice came from outside the door. You broke your promise. I don't want to play with you anymore. I pushed open the door to see what was happening. When Yao was clutching her children's smartwatch and talking to someone on the phone. The person on the other end was probably her classmate. As soon as he heard her words, he let out a loud wail and burst into tears. Please, I'm begging you. Please give me that letter back. My aunt suddenly came back today. She found out I touched her things and gave me the scolding of my life. I'll give you 100 yuan. Oh no, I'll give you all my New Year's lucky money. Will you please give me the letter back? Maybe his sobs were too pitiful. When Yao pouted and fell silent, she hesitated for a long time. The boy continued begging desperately. Fine, I'll go talk to my brother. Thank you so much. The boy sounded relieved. At the end, he suddenly added, oh, right? My aunt should be almost at your house. She asked for your address and left half an hour ago. You can just give her the letter. I jumped, then I shot out of my room. Holding Wenya's smartwatch, I demanded, Kid, what's your aunt's name? The boy stammered, Qinghuan. At that very moment, the doorbell rang. I froze. I hurried to look through the doorbell camera. Outside, Qinghuan was waiting patiently. She was dressed casually, which made her look more approachable. But that wasn't the point. The point was, if I opened the door now, things between us would be incredibly awkward. How could we possibly work together at the company after that? I turned and exchanged a look with Wenya. Just as she was about to speak, I clapped a hand over her mouth. Good girl, go answer the door. Don't tell her your brother is home. And don't tell her who your brother is. I dashed back into my room, resealed the letter, and shoved it into Wenya's hands. Give it back to her, then close the door. I couldn't worry about manners at a time like this. Wenya nodded. Once I was safely hidden in my room, she ran over and opened the door. When the door opened, Qinghuan was about to speak, but couldn't see anyone. She paused in confusion. Then she looked down and saw a little girl holding an envelope and looking up at her. "Hello, are you Jiang Zimo's aunt? This belongs to you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your things." The girl's expression was pitiful. Qinghuan's furrowed brow instinctively relaxed. "It's all right. Jiang Zimo was the one who gave it to you. It's his fault." She glanced at the envelope and asked, "Did you open it? The marks on it are pretty obvious." When Yi's eyes darted around, she quickly said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just curious. I opened it and took a look, but I don't know many words, so I couldn't understand it." Qinghuan smiled and said nothing more. She handed Wen-Ya a red envelope. "I hope your studies keep improving." She didn't stay long and soon left. After the door closed, I came out of my room. Wen-Ya gave me an okay sign. Mission accomplished. When the holiday ended, I hurried back to the city where I worked. I organized everything I needed for the next day's meeting, only to discover that an important file was still at the office. Some data needed to be checked. There wouldn't be enough time to check it the next day. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my car keys and went downstairs. I picked up the file at the office and was about to leave when I caught sight of light spilling from the office at the end of the hall. I hadn't expected Qinghuan to be working late too. After a moment's thought, I headed over anyway. I was about to knock when I saw what was happening inside through the blinds. My raised hand froze. Qinghuan lay on the sofa. Her long, slender legs were slightly curled. She wore an immaculate white shirt. At some point, the top buttons had come undone, revealing a glimpse of her delicate collarbone. I paused. Then I gently pushed the door open, afraid of disturbing her. Qinghuan's brow was slightly furrowed. Even in sleep, she couldn't find peace. As far as I could remember, she had always seemed this way. Her lovely brows and eyes were never fully relaxed. And yet I remembered that Qinghuan had once shown a remarkably gentle side. It was during the second semester of our 11th grade year. She and I had been desk mates for a year. She was the math class representative, and I was the biology class representative. That afternoon, our teacher sent us to the print shop by the school gate to collect some test papers. As soon as I left school, I ran into my grandmother, who had come to see me. She was delighted. "Yichen, I was just wondering how I could get inside. Our school normally didn't allow outsiders in." She had taken a bus from the small town and gone through quite a journey, only to spot me the moment she arrived at the gate. She took my hand and chatted on and on. Qinghuan stood nearby, waiting for me. Grandma asked me, "Yichen, the sticky rice cakes I asked you to share with your classmates last week, did you take them? Did they like them?" I smiled. "They did. They all said you were an excellent cook." "That's good." Grandma's face crinkled with delight. But I lied. I had eaten all those sticky rice cakes by myself. At first, I shared them with my roommates, but I accidentally saw them throw the cakes into the trash. They said it was filthy, and eating it would make them sick. I couldn't bear to see Grandma's hard work treated like garbage. And as a teenager, I had my pride too. So all the sticky rice cakes that remained were eaten by me alone. I asked Grandma to wait for me outside the print shop. I would collect the papers, then take her out for a meal. But there was a problem with the biology test papers, so I had to find the teacher again. By the time I finished dealing with it and came out, I saw Qinghuan talking with Grandma outside. I heard Grandma ask her, "Did Yichen share any sticky rice cakes with you?" Qinghuan paused. Then she smiled and said, "I did. They were delicious." Grandma was even happier to hear that. "I still have some here. Would you like one?" That's how older relatives are. They always save what they consider the best things for the younger generation. To Grandma, the sticky rice cakes she had made herself were the finest thing she could offer her grandson to share with his classmates. I watched Qinghuan nervously, but unexpectedly, she reached out and accepted the sticky rice cake and ate it without hesitation. Then she sweetly thanked Grandma. I stared, stunned. I heard her praising me, saying I was good at my studies, hardworking, kind-hearted, and popular with many friends. Grandma was very happy that day. It was also from that day on that I realized I might have feelings for her. Unrequited love is one person's private chaos. I secretly watched everything Qinghuan did. I copied the little gestures she made while thinking. I even imitated her handwriting. The occasional brush of our bodies between classes made my heart race. And so, I carefully treasured those precious moments. Before the summer break of our 11th grade year, I prepared to confess my feelings to Qinghuan. But around that time, rumors about Qinghuan suddenly began spreading through the class. I heard her father had beaten her mother and sister until they fled. Her father had caused trouble while drunk 2 years earlier and gone to prison. Seriously, I told you there was something eerie about Qinghuan. She seemed like the kind of person who would stab you in the back. I've heard criminal tendencies are hereditary. We'd better stay away from her from now on. Oh well, Qinghuan won't be able to take the civil service exam now. His voice was dripping with malicious glee. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and glared at him. Someone's just jealous that she's always ranked first, because he can't stand being a perennial runner-up. He froze. Then he cursed. "Are you sick?" Rabies, maybe. Honestly, I was always quiet and rarely argued with anyone so harshly. Once an argument started, before the other person had even said much, my eyes would already be red with anger. So, when Qinghuan entered behind the teacher, all she saw was me in a sorry state, red-eyed and shouting at someone. That person and I were sent outside the classroom to stand as punishment. When the teacher asked why we had argued, we exchanged a glance, and both chose silence. He was too guilty to speak. I was afraid Qinghuan would be hurt if she heard, and my unrequited love ended that summer. The day I finally summoned the courage to confess to Qinghuan was the last day of summer vacation. Following the address I remembered, I found Qinghuan's home. 2 or 3 people were peering toward the house. He's beating the kid again. What a terrible thing to do. Shouldn't someone stop him? What if he seriously injures her? You can't reason with him. Old Yang tried to break up a fight a few days ago. That bastard attacked old Yang too. I hurried forward. A tremendous crash suddenly came from the courtyard. Through the courtyard gate, I saw the inner door kicked open and Qinghuan thrown outside. You little brat. How dare you fight back? The man was tall and broad, but he had been drinking and could barely keep his balance. Qinghuan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, then sprang up and lunged at him. Her slender body knocked the man to the ground. The man flew into a rage and struck her even harder. You little brat. Think you're tough enough to fight back now? Listen to me. My blood runs through your veins. You'll never escape me. That's my blood. You'll never escape me. Look, the way you hit people is exactly like me. You're my daughter. Qinghuan's raised hand froze. Then it fell limply. She staggered to her feet and looked down at the man on the ground. I'm not like you. I'm the top student in the entire school. I was before, and I still will be. I'll get into the best university. I'll study the best major. I'll make something of myself. I'll take a path completely opposite to yours. You and I have never been alike. Her words exploded like a bomb inside me. I suddenly understood why. Qinghuan studied so relentlessly because she refused to accept her fate. She wanted to change her fate. Looking down at the love letter in my hand, I felt strangely ashamed. Maybe I shouldn't confess my feelings to Qinghuan. It might only be a complication and another burden. I called the police. After the police arrived, only then did I quietly leave the alley. Afterward, I buried my feelings deep in my heart and kept them there until the college entrance exam was over. Qinghuan was not only the top scorer in our school's college entrance exam that year, but also the city's top science track scorer. Flowers and applause poured in. Calls from prestigious universities came one after another. Although I also got into a decent university, it seemed insignificant compared with Qinghuan's achievement. That was when the gap between us emerged. My teenage crush ended too. After I hesitated and wavered countless times. At our high school graduation ceremony, I stood beside Qinghuan, staring straight ahead, but my head was turned toward her. Qinghuan, may your future be bright. Qinghuan paused, surprised. Her voice was as clear and bright as ever. May your future be bright too. From that moment on, our youth came to an end. In the silent office, I looked at the woman before me. Qinghuan, you've already made something of yourself. So, why do you still look unhappy? Half a cup of ice-cold coffee sat on the coffee table, with several scattered documents beside it. Qinghuan looked truly exhausted. Dark circles stood out beneath her eyes. I watched her intently for several seconds, then gently draped the jacket lying nearby over her shoulders. But the moment I spread it over her, someone suddenly seized my wrist. I looked up and met Qinghuan's eyes. My heart skipped a beat. Qinghuan's eyes were hazy at first, but quickly cleared. What are you doing here? I came back for a file. I saw the lights on over here, so I came to take a look. Qinghuan glanced at the jacket that had slipped onto her lap and stayed silent for 2 seconds. Then she rose and poured herself a glass of water. I was just about to slip out quietly when Qinghuan called my name. I stopped. Boss Gu, did you need something? She stared at me blankly for several seconds. I'm sorry. I treated you poorly in front of the interns earlier. I hadn't expected her to apologize so suddenly. I hurriedly said, it's fine. There really was a problem with our team. It was my responsibility. Don't take it to heart, Boss Gu. Qinghuan paused. For some reason, I grew nervous, just as my heart began to clench. Her tone suddenly changed. You should head home. Drive carefully. All right, Boss Gu. I quietly opened the door and left, then let out a long breath. After working 5 days straight, I went home after work on Friday and slept like the dead in my apartment. When I woke up, it was almost 10. Only after picking up my phone did I see hundreds of new messages in the interns group chat. Intern Xiao Zhao had lost a necklace. It held a jade Buddha that her mother had specially taken to a temple to be blessed. It meant a great deal to her. She had searched for ages without finding it and was asking, whether anyone had seen it. Could the cleaning lady have found it? What if she mistook it for trash and swept it away? I sent her a voice message to reassure her. Don't panic. Can you narrow down when you lost it? I'll check the security footage for you. Xiao Zhao thought carefully. It might have been around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I felt hot and took off some clothes. Could it have fallen off then? I had permission to view the security footage, so I opened today's recordings. I found Xiao Zhao's workstation and watched the footage several times. Finally, I zoomed in. After studying it for a long time, I finally saw that when Xiao Zhao took off her clothes, something fell off her. A passing colleague happened to kick it under the desk. I breathed a sigh of relief and sent Xiao Zhao a clip of the footage. Thanks, Wen. I'll pick it up on Monday. No problem. I'm glad you found it. I left the chat and was about to close the security footage when I accidentally clicked the mouse. The recording jumped straight to 9 that evening. Qinghuan's figure flashed across the screen. I froze. Did Qinghuan really not leave work until 9? But I was also puzzled. When Qinghuan left the company after work, she didn't pass through this area. Driven by curiosity, I pressed a key and moved the footage back a few seconds. On the screen, Qinghuan paused in front of my workstation for 2 seconds. After she left, several white rabbit milk candies had appeared on my desk. My eyes widened. I abruptly sat up straight. There had been candy on my desk almost every day. I had assumed it came from an early arriving colleague and eaten it all without a second thought. I tapped at the keyboard and checked the footage from the previous few days. I dragged the timeline to around 8 or 9 at night. As expected, I saw Qinghuan again. She had been the one leaving the candy all along. Just then, my phone vibrated and scattered my thoughts. I glanced at the caller ID, and my heart jolted. Why was Qinghuan calling me so late? I pressed the answer button, but heard an unfamiliar man's voice on the other end. Hello, is this Mr. Wen Yichen? Yes. Speaking. And you are? Bosku is drunk. You may need to come pick her up. By the time I reached Tingja Courtyard, it was already 11. Outside a secluded private room, an elegant, handsome man was on the phone. He smiled when he saw me, then said something to the person on the other end and hung up. He walked toward me. I froze completely because I recognized him. An intern had once posted in our smaller group chat a photo of him with Qinghuan. They had all said he was Qinghuan's fiancé. Mr. Wen, you got here quickly. He pointed inside. Qinghuan had too much to drink. You may have to take her home. Qinghuan. He sounded awfully familiar with her, for no reason at all. A sour pang rose in my heart. I kept it off my face and smiled along with him. All right. Are you going home with her too? I assumed they had both been drinking and were treating me like their designated driver, but to my surprise, he froze. Go where? Home. My home isn't on the way to Qinghuan's. He explained. Besides, my wife is already here to pick me up. Don't worry about me, Mr. Wen. His wife? I was stunned. He saw my expression and realized what had happened. Who did you think I was? I gave to awkward laughs. Bosku's fiancé. Haha. He laughed heartily. I'm 10 years older than her. You certainly know how to joke. He extended his hand. Hello. Let me introduce myself. My name is Qiyu. I was one of the first few people to co-found a company with Qinghuan. I later left for family reasons. My wife and I have run a small company these past few years. Qiyu said. I've always kept in touch with Qinghuan. Today, I brought everyone together for a dinner to discuss a project. She accidentally drank too much. I quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Mr. Qi. I misunderstood. It's all right. Qiyu called over a waiter to help Qinghuan into my car. Once I was in the driver's seat, I spoke awkwardly. Mr. Qi, do you have Bosku's home address? Now, it was Chiyu's turn to be surprised. You don't have it. I blink. Should I? Aren't you her secretary? No. I'm terribly sorry. Your number is pinned at the top of her phone. I assumed you were her secretary, and that's why I called you. Qiyu hurriedly sent me the address. Drive safely. After driving a long way, I still felt my heart beating a little too fast. Chiyu's words kept echoing through my mind. Your number is pinned at the top of her phone. Through the rearview mirror, I glanced at Qinghuan in the backseat, having been drinking. Her face was slightly flushed. I looked away, but couldn't help looking again a few seconds later. This time, my eyes met Qinghuan's. My hand trembled, and the car lurched. Qinghuan pressed her fingers to her temple. She looked uncomfortable, but still let out a laugh. Stop looking at me. Focus on the road. Oh, okay. My heart leaped. I sat rigidly upright and didn't dare steal another glance. I should count myself lucky that Qinghuan wasn't completely drunk. Although she was unsteady on her feet, she could still walk home on her own. As soon as she got home, she collapsed onto the sofa. I searched everywhere and finally found a bottle of honey in the empty kitchen. The water was a little too hot. While waiting for it to cool, I checked my phone and saw that my new contact, Qiyu, had sent me several WeChat messages. I knew you looked familiar. I only just remembered. I was the one who hired you at Qinghuan's company. There were many college students applying back then. Your resume didn't stand out. You were eliminated in the first screening. But when Qinghuan saw it, she retrieved your resume. She said our company needed someone like you. Now that I think about it, she made the right decision. You're capable and patient, and understanding. With you around, the company has a much stronger sense of unity. Keep it up, young man. There was too much information to take in. I spent a moment processing it before replying. Someone like me? Yes. Qinghuan said, you're a warm person. I turned toward the living room. Qinghuan was leaning back against the sofa with her head tilted upward. Her chest rose and fell slightly, and her breathing was heavy. I carried over the honey water. Boss Qinghuan didn't respond. My heart lurched. Could she have caught a chill? Qinghuan, can you hear me? I waved a hand in front of her eyes. Qinghuan slowly opened her eyes and reached out to grab the hand I was waving. She looked up at me. Her dark eyes glistened with moisture. When Yichen, my heart began racing, but I forced myself to stay calm as I pulled my hand back. Have some water. Just as I reached for the water, Qinghuan grabbed my wrist again. I turned to look and found her sitting up with her arms around my waist. I fell back onto the sofa. Qinghuan's body was burning hot behind me. I could feel her pounding heartbeat through my shirt. Her arms tightened around my waist. Her voice trembled slightly. Don't go. Don't go. I'm not going. I felt all the blood in my body rush to my face. Qinghuan's lips barely brushed my arm, sending a shiver through me. I kept reminding myself to stay calm. Qinghuan was drunk. A drunk person's actions didn't have to make sense. They didn't prove anything. But her next words froze me in place. When Yichen, you saw it, didn't you? Saw what? 10 years ago. The love letter I wrote to you but never gave you. I looked up in shock and instantly didn't know what to say. In the floor-to-ceiling window across from us, our reflections appeared. We were pressed closely together, and the atmosphere was charged with intimacy. Qinghuan's voice was languid, heavy with drunkenness, yet her words were perfectly clear. You know what? You're the most warm-hearted person I've ever met. She wasn't cold or unfeeling. She noticed every kindness people showed her. When she was sick, the thermos on her desk was always filled with hot water. Someone also collected the assignments and neatly left them on her desk. There was no magical housekeeper in our class, but there was a secret helper, a boy. That secret helper was terribly bad at hiding his identity, so anyone could guess who he was. The boy named Yichen had always been shy and honest. The only time a teacher punished him by making him stand outside, he had been defending her. He had looked ridiculous, cursing with bloodshot eyes. But that moment stayed with her for many years. As far as she could remember, no one had ever defended her so unwaveringly. After the college entrance examination, she still couldn't bring herself to send the love letter. That day, she had the biggest confrontation of her life with her father. Her father broke her arm, and she smashed his head open with a brick. A terrified neighbor called the police. When they were taken to the hospital, she saw when Yichen through the ambulance window. His whole family stood outside an ice cream shop. Each of them held an ice cream, laughing and fooling around. It was an ordinary, yet enviable family. In the window's reflection, she could also see her own bruised and swollen face. What good was being an excellent student when her life was still a complete mess? She had never been aloof. She was simply insecure. That insecurity clung to her like a sickness in her bones, impossible to remove and impossible to escape. During her sophomore year, her father suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and fell into a vegetative state. She used every spare moment outside class to work part-time and earn money to keep that man alive year after year. Many people advised her at the time, let it go. He's such a terrible person. Why bother saving him? Qinghuan didn't want to save him either. They urged her to stop, but if she actually stopped, they would call her heartless and say a father and daughters shouldn't hold grudges overnight. They really are cut from the same cloth. Neither of them is any good. People love watching a spectacle and never mind making things worse. So she insisted on proving that she was different from that man. Until 2 years ago, when the man who had lain in that hospital bed for 2 years finally gave out and died that winter. That day, Qinghuan stood beside his bed for a long time. From dawn until dusk, she felt no satisfaction and certainly no grief. All she felt was relief. If sunlight ever fell on her, she would finally have no reason to hide. When it came to you, I was always second-guessing myself with you, afraid I might be too late, or that the time wasn't right yet, so I kept putting it off. As I listened to her, a bittersweet ache rose in my chest. Her arms tightened around me. My heart began beating faster and faster. I heard her whisper, when Yichen, I like you. Hearing this long overdue confession, I remained stunned for a long while. My eyes were suddenly burning. All these years, I hadn't been the only one secretly in love. When Yichen, Qinghuan's voice grew clearer, as though the alcohol was beginning to wear off. But she didn't loosen her hold on me. I heard her say, your ears are so red. Nervously, I gently freed myself from her arms. It's getting late. Boss You should get some rest. I'll head home first. But after I took only one step, Qinghuan wrapped her arms around my waist again. She pressed her face against my waist. I feel a little unwell. Stay with me a little longer, please. Drunk Qinghuan and sober Qinghuan were practically two different people. I couldn't resist her. She only had to plead softly a few times before my legs turned to jelly. Qinghuan pulled me down onto the sofa. Then, holding my shoulders, she sat on my lap. Her body was scorching hot, and so was her gaze. I didn't dare meet her eyes. Qinghuan, you're drunk. I'm not drunk. I know who you are. I know what I'm doing. Her fingers brushed my cheek. Her fingertips were slightly hot. I looked up at her, my eyes falling to her lips. A voice began shouting wildly in my head. Do whatever you want. We're both adults. What are you afraid of? You've loved her for years. A little reward wouldn't be too much to ask, right? That voice shattered my restraint. I lifted my head and kissed her. The kiss lasted only an instant. I pulled away in panic. But the next moment, Qinghuan's lips met mine. She cupped my face and deepened the kiss with a tenderness I couldn't refuse. My reason crumbled bit by bit. My arms instinctively wrapped around her waist. Early the next morning, I ran. As I sneaked out of the apartment building, the security guard on patrol caught me sneaking out. I haven't seen you before. Which apartment are you from? Stammering, I gave him Qinghuan's address. Could you let me leave first? I have an urgent matter to deal with. The guard checked his records. That can't be right. You're not registered. The owner of this apartment is a woman. And besides, I panicked. I'm her boyfriend. The guard suddenly understood. I breathed a sigh of relief. I was about to leave when he said, wait a moment. I'll call the owner to confirm. Before I could stop him, the call had already gone through. Miss Gu. Hello. Qinghuan took me away. A smile touched the corners of her lips. It was dazzling enough to leave anyone staring. Yet I still felt embarrassed. Is it funny? No, it isn't. Qinghuan took my hand and led me back into the apartment. Why did you run? I said nothing. In truth, I was a little afraid. I was afraid last night had only been a momentary whim for Qinghuan. While I had taken it seriously, Qinghuan stopped. She seemed to see right through my thoughts. She squeezed my hand. Boyfriend, what would you like for breakfast? I stared at her in stunned disbelief. What did you call me? Your boyfriend. Qinghuan leaned toward me slightly. You said it yourself. Are you trying to take it back? Of course not. I turned my face away and cleared my throat. I want noodles. Qinghuan was quite good at cooking noodles. I ate until I let out a satisfied belch. When I looked up, I met Qinghuan's amused gaze. I glanced at her. Don't laugh. Okay. She agreed. With a smile, I lowered my head and kept eating. I bought you some clothes. They'll arrive soon. After breakfast, we'll go to work together. I froze. Together? Of course. Qinghuan planted both hands on the table and looked down at me. She said slowly and distinctly, from now on, we'll always be together. I had always been curious how she discovered that I had read that love letter when Ya and I didn't look alike at all, and my family had only moved into the city a few years earlier. There was no way she could have known that was my home. I questioned Qinghuan about it for a long time, but she wouldn't tell me. She told me to figure it out myself, but I honestly couldn't guess. Zimo held his smartwatch in both hands and blinked. Several voices came from the other end. Sweetie, go answer the door. Don't say your brother is home. And don't tell her who your brother is. Just return the letter and close the door. Hello, are you Zimo's aunt? This belongs to you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your things. It's okay. Zimo sold this to you. That was his mistake. Did you open it? That was Annie's voice. I'm sorry, Annie. I was just curious. So I opened it to take a look. But I don't know many characters, so I couldn't understand it. A belated New Year's red envelope. I hope your studies keep improving. What? Little Aunt had actually given Ya a red envelope. She hadn't even given me one when she came back. She'd even beaten me up. Zimo was furious. He decided to save the conversation he just overheard and use the recording to